Raiders of the Lost Ventura Spark, the Temple of Alba Spoon. Let's forget about the fate of the Timex Atlantis or Casio and go on a friendly crusade, if that's a thing, to illuminate some more adventurous corners of digital watchdom. What did I find? Well, Henry Jones says it best.
What did you find, Dad? Me? Illumination.
Now, you can't have adventure without Ventura, which is our first stop. When you think Ventura, you're probably thinking of Elvis and his Hamilton Ventura, but Ventura is a whole other watch brand with a cool history. After its founding in 1987 by Pierre Nobs and Freddie Brodman, the first of Ventura's big hits was in 1989 and would be displayed at the Museum of Modern Art and was the Danish designer Flemming Bohansen's watch. The watch range would subsequently have later iterations under the brand Rosendahl as Watch 2, 3 and 5. Now, Watch 5 on steroids would be the Life Clock 1, recreating the watch worn in John Carpenter's Escape from New York by Snake, played by Kurt Russell. Ventura made some pretty serious mechanical chronometers with the V-Matic range, designed by Hannes Wettstein, who had also designed their awesome innovation in 2000, the automatic digital watch, the bezel-less Spark FX, and wedge-shaped Spark PX. The Spark concept built on the heritage of the Automatic Generating System, or AGS, automatic quartz, or more famously, Seahope kinetic movements. The next step was the VTech Alpha, which adopted the easy scroll system for navigating functions with the famous Wettstein kink, which left the scroller both exposed and protected at the same time, as well as the Simon Hussein designed typography seen here in the VTech Kappa. The power would be dialed up a gear with the Spark MGS, that's micro generating system, which I tried on the other day. It's a beast. Other models were the VTech Sigma and Spark Sigma MGS. The VTech Sigma was worn by Nicolas Cage in the film Bangkok Dangerous in 2008, the guy from National Treasure, also known as Poor Man's Indiana Jones. They innovated in the materials as well with Duranox and Titanox, which is scratch-resistant hardened versions of steel and titanium. And how about this one with diamonds? Other watches I'll pepper in here as more luxury-looking digital watches are the German Alley brand with the El Capitan, Void Watches V01, and one that a viewer recently showed me in person, an Al-Fadja. But this is all too classy. Let's get properly adventurous with Tokyo Flash and Seahope. I hope you don't hate LEDs and confusing time displays, as there's a whole bunch of them here. Tokyo Flash was founded around the millennium by Brent Carr. The idea was for fun limited runs from cool designers that tapped into Japanese street style. They seem to have been distributors of the funky citizen independent watches that I've discussed elsewhere, Seiko Alba aka, and even a few Casios. I think Seiko Alba win the battle with the Mad Inoki X watch named after the Japanese wrestler who famously fought Muhammad Ali. What a monster. But outside of curating some of the weirder range from the mainstream brands, over time they would supply many other brands including DJ Honda, a brand from DJ Katsuhiro Honda, this is the Hammer. ODM, standing for Original Dynamic Minimal, a brand from 1990 made by Hong Kong-based Sweda that was apparently worn by Maradona. The OVO Decision Maker model was popular and helped you make your mind up. Pimp watches were exclusively distributed through Tokyo Flash, with options like the Light Fantastic, Pimpin' Ain't Easy, and Star Performer models. Tokyo Time Evolution made this barcode model. The Seishin brand produced the Diode and Retsina watches. Cyberpunk TS100 tapped into that aesthetic. 1259 was the base watch that would become the watch worn in the film Avatar. The Radioactive Reactor watch and the Equalizer require you to decode the time in different ways from the light display. The Jackpot One-Arm Bandit came complete with a game. The Morse Code watch, yep, you guessed it, and S-Mode, Titan and Oberon watches drew inspiration from the King and Queen of the Fairies in Midsummer Night's Dream. Futara Mugen was a cool watch. Nikora models like the Scramble. And Click watches have been distributed by Tokyo Flash but do seem to be their own Hong Kong-based brand, with funky options like these turn and shower range, keypad and safe models. Trainline watches based on the Japanese train station electric signboard displays made by Adakyu include options for Fujisawa Station, Makita Station and Shinjuku Station. Kisai appears to be the main range they sell these days, inclusive of mad options like this breathalyzer watch and a whole boatload of other models. There are quite a few brands with a similar vibe to these Tokyo Flash watches, such as Nuka, Humberto Jimenez and Witness watches. For the musicians, how about the Symphona watch from Audioveld, or Flood's BPM based on an MPC drum machine, or boombox models? But the one that really jumps out is Seahope. Now, Yasushi Kimura was working with Tokyo Flash, so was very much part of that universe when starting Seahope watches. He'd been behind their Elino range and scope model that were brands sold through Tokyo Flash. And how cool is that scope watch? It's like something out of Blade Runner, a film starring Harrison Ford. Some selected standouts for me from Seahope are the ever-increasing watch, Heartbeat, and Scope 2. But what's that brand there? Yes Watches? Well, how convenient, as that's the next brand I've selected for this journey. They even claim to be built for adventure. Perfect. Now, Yes Watches was founded in 1999 in Marin County, California, with some Swiss input via Ronda and Hong Kong input via AlphaSoft, KeyTime, and UDC. These displays are such an innovative way of telling the time in that they give you a sense of light hours and dark hours in the day, which really connects time back to the sun. Now, key features are sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset, lunar phase, digital time, pre-programmed for 650 cities, equinox and solstice, alarm, and compass. Cool, right? Now, Yes Watches have some other fun examples like the Tati, Inca, and Luna, with 2 of these making it onto the International Space Station on the wrist of Stephen Frick. On the topic of professional watches of the space variety, let's head over to Sweden. Now, perhaps you've got your holy grail, the Omega X33. What's your next space watch with a digital component? Well, it's got to be Halda. Now, Halda actually have a history going back to 1887, with their founding by Henning Hammarlund making pocket watches. But the modern version of the brand began with Mikael Sandström acquiring the rights in 2009 with the Space Discovery watch displayed at the Basel Fair in 2010 and would later be worn in space by Christopher Fuglsang and Alexander Gerst. The timex case allows you to either have a digital module or mechanical module, and the digital module has dual time, chrono, timer, alarms, event log, mission time, G-force monitor, and perpetual calendar. The watch has been used in space at least 5 times. The next frontier of coolness for these guys was the Formula 1 track with a race pilot that is the same concept but a zenith movement for the mechanical side of things, worn in 2014 by Swedish F1 driver Marcus Ericsson of the Caterham F1 team, Rickard Rydell, winner of the Le Mans, and Edward Sandström, winner of Nürburgring 24 Hours, with the Nürburgring limited edition being inspired by this race and would be expanded with a military-grade GPS in 2016 with the Trackmaster model. Obviously, this is all insanely cool. A somewhat similar vein of uber-specialised digital wrist instrument is from Linda Verdelin with their land instrument and sea instrument or reef computers, which can be bolted onto their normal mechanical watches. But how about we go back to some brands that are perhaps a bit more attainable to us normal people? One hunting ground you might be surprised a watch channel would even consider is fashion watches. Now stay with me, there are some fun ones in here. Browsing through fashion land, I think it's surprising how many cool diesel digital watches there are. Of course, I've referenced before that there is one worn by Sam Rockwell in the great film Moon. Here is one from their recent catalogue that looks super cool to me as well, but I've not seen one in the flesh. This Fernie watches Raised by Wolves watch caught my eye from a Canadian company, and Fossil watches do have some hidden gems such as this Frank Gehry Wright's Time watch, and I've put in a few more here to give you an idea of their range. I even liked these Levi's digital watches. If we go a bit more obscure, how about these Takeo Kikuchi watches from the Tokyo Fashion Streetwear Company? Double-clicking into sports-oriented fashion watches, some fun ones I picked out were these cool-looking options from Nike, a couple more numbers from Spalding, Umbro with the pink and blue, Puma models, I think that these were made actually by Fossil, Adidas, and these were actually made by Nixon, and Fila do these funky F watches, and Cocopelli has a UV sensor one that I've not seen elsewhere, and Asics has these very brightly coloured options. Now for flavour, I'll throw in another branded option from a company you wouldn't normally associate with watches, that is National Geographic. Now this watch reminds me a bit of an X33, and this Wind watch is absolutely bonkers. And the last crusade for this video, well segment at least, is some cool display technology. Now micro-encapsulated electrophoretic display, or e-ink, was a cool technology that span out of MIT Media Lab in 1997, and it's the technology behind things such as the Amazon Kindle and first used in a Sony ebook reader. Now Seiko used this in their 2005 to 2007 concept Spectrum watches and 2010's Active Matrix range. But they weren't the only ones. Phosphor had a watch that was using e-ink technology, and ODM used it in their Filmatic 2. But a super cool one is this Central Standard Timing, or CST, 01 e-ink watch, which was at the time claimed to be the world's thinnest watch at 0.8mm. But if you really want to see a cool display, and sorry it's dipping into the evil smartwatch world, but it's worth it, is the Nubia watch, with flexible active matrix organic light emitting diode or AMOLED display that goes around your wrist, and it looks ridiculously cool. And that's it for today's video on adventurous digital watches. So many crazy ones out there that I could have included, so put your favourites that I've missed in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you do, please do consider subscribing, and for the super keen, I have a buy me a coffee page. Adios, senor, and I've got top men working on the next episode. Top men.